What's going on, Junkie Nation? Marcus McGhee joining us here on the hotline. UFC bantamweight who just scored a big ticket. He gets to fight a former champ on a big card this summer. He's taking on Petr Yan Saturday, July 26th. And they're in Dubai. Whitaker versus RDR. Look at this card. Evloev versus Pico, they're saying. Krylov versus Guskov. Wow. Congrats, Marcus. You scored huge based off of 4 big wins, 3 of them by finish. Man, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think it leans more toward the fact that, I haven't fought since October. Peter hasn't fought since October. Really, the division's kind of all crazy right now. So I think both of us are just looking to fight, and it just so happens that this is the matchup.
Well, I'm going to take it a step further. I've been championing that I thought Petr Yan deserved the next shot against whoever won between O'Malley and Merab. Now, I know Corey Sandhagen, he's got dibs or whatever, but Petr Yan's impressed me in his last 2 fights since his 3-fight losing streak. And so I thought as a former champ, Sandhagen's also had a couple setbacks too. I thought it might be Yan, but it isn't. But the fact that you're facing Yan tells me you're in the mix, brother.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess I am in the mix now. So, I appreciate it and I'm down. This is what we're here for. This is what we're here to do. So, I do think that Peter, you can't take it away from Peter, but you can't take it away from Corey Sandhagen either. I do think Corey gets the next shot right now for sure over Peter. You could argue for sure that Peter would deserve it as well. And I definitely, agree that Peter, doesn't necessarily have to take a fight against a guy like me. Being number 13. So I appreciate him taking the fight and the opportunity to fight him as well. But yeah, you could definitely argue that he would be in line next for sure.
I mean, keep it real with us. You usually do. But when you throw the video in and you really watch this guy, now you got to scientifically break him down. Sometimes I'm sure you watch with your homies as a fan or whatever. But now as you start to look at stuff, can you easily spot a few tactics that'll work? Or like I said, can you keep it real and go, hey, man, I got my work cut out for him. There ain't many holes in this brother's game.
Yeah, I think that it's Petr Yan. There's not a lot of holes in his game. He's a complete fighter, and that's what excites me. I'm going to be fighting one of the most complete fighters in the world, and I got to use every weapon that I have, and that's the plan. I have a lot of weapons, a lot of different weapons I can utilize as well, and it's whose weapons will be sharper July 26th. So. Looking at Petr Yan again, you can't take anything away from him. He's great in every different aspect. I've got to be better.
Kind of helps to have these, right? The one-hitter quitters.
Yeah, that definitely is going to play a part in it too. I definitely know I have that power, and it's something I've worked on more and more and honed in more and more. So it's nice to know that I have that there. But you got to be strategic with all of it. Power, speed, timing, distance, range, everything matters. And Peter's a genius in that aspect. So I'm definitely excited to see how my skill sets match up against his.
He's got great boxing, some of the better boxing out there, actually. I'm a fan of his. Are you a fan of your fellow contemporaries at
Yeah.
135, or do you see them more as enemies?
No, I'm a fan. I'm not an enemy, and Jesus says, "Love your enemies as yourself." Anyway, so I have a lot of love for Peter, and I appreciate everything he's done. I'm definitely a big fan of his. I don't see that playing a part in our fight. A fight's a fight. He's a man, and I'm a man, and we'll step in the cage and we'll duke it out for that 17 minutes. With the 2-minute breaks. With the 1-minute breaks in between, and it will be what it is. But that being said, I am a fan of Petr Yan and a lot of my other contemporaries. A lot of these guys are great human beings that have been through so many things and overcome so many things. How could you not have respect for them being the same on my side? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Marcus, I have to venture out and just say I believe this is the biggest fight of your career. When you got this call, I'm sure they tell you this is who you got, and maybe that was a yes, but then they said this is where it will be. Was that also a yes, or was that like a ooh? And what do you have to do to prepare for something like that?
I don't think you change anything up too much. I think that we just get out there a little earlier. That's the plan, to get out there a little earlier and make sure we make adjustments in the sleep zone. But nothing changes as far as the location, right? It's a fight is a fight is a fight, whether it's in an alley in California or it's in a big arena in Abu Dhabi. So making sure that I get my sleep schedule, my team on point, get there ready, healthy, and everything else will play its part.
Marcus, can we get you to adjust your camera just a little bit? We're not seeing the top of your dome here. There you go. All
Let's
right.
see. I keep on. There you go.
There we go. Yeah. You got to show off them that nice dread thing you got going on, man. All right.
I don't know if they're nice at all, but they're
Well,
there.
that's what a fighter should look like. I mean, you're not walking a red carpet or nothing. But let me sneak a quick one in there, and then I'll get back to goes. What about? I've always been curious. You're probably like, hey, I'm ready to fight wherever it is. I'll make some new fans. I get it. But what about when you break it to the coaches? Are they like, oh man, that's some bullshit? Or do they like traveling the world? Or what's it usually? How's it usually go over in the gym?
Man, they were excited too, and honestly, we never had to go over anywhere type of bad in the gym. It's all good stuff. So, um, yeah, no bad vibes at all. Plus, like the opportunity of Petr Yan, those type of names that excite us. Those are the type of names that put us right into play where we came. We came here to try to be great, to chase greatness, and see exactly what our steel is made of. So I think they feel the same way as I do about it, and we're excited about the matchup.
Marcus, George and I often talk about every human being. We all have our credit reports, but we kind of have our credit reports as a human being, right? The good things we've done and maybe the bad things. Your number's pretty high. You got a high credit report with us. We've always known you to be a nice guy, a good guy. Petr Yan, kind of the same thing. Sometimes it just depends on who he's fighting. He can be a little bit more intense. I don't think we're going to get that side out of you that wants any type of beef or anything like that. But once you guys get together and the intensity of the fight and all that, if he does go that route, do you kind of invite that? Does that ever pump you up even more? Or would you rather just kind of arrive as two guys that are going to fight?
Yeah, we're going to arrive as two guys who are going to fight. I don't see that playing a big part in this one. I don't think that's going to be the vibe or the energy. But, I mean, I'm fine with that energy. I don't think it's the energy I'm going to bring. I like to stay committed to who I am, right? And I like to stay inside of who I am and the things I like to choose and my morals. So regardless of who he chooses to be and what he chooses to do and the intensity that he chooses to bring, my intensity will be shown once that bell rings for the first round. That's when my intensity is going to be there all the way through there, and then past that, he's a brother in Christ and a great human being, great father. Nothing past that.
When you get to high caliber athletes like you guys, especially like George brought up the boxing, his is tremendous, and so is yours. And sometimes as fans, for as much as we're like, we want fighters to stick to the game plan and this and that, sometimes it takes one or two punches. And then I think that almost like the kid in us comes out and we just want to see a war. What do you think? Like, is it going to be hard to stick to a game plan with a guy like this? Because like I said, you guys are so good at the same things.
Yeah, I don't think I think it's good to have an idea of what you want to do, right? But getting too caught up in the game plan and exactly what's going to go and how it's going to go and what's going to be the most effective things. I think you got to be able to flow, going into being a flow state and being really present. I think that's going to be more important than all the other things. Because again, when you have a guy like Petr Yan, when you have a guy at the highest level, man, certain adjustments in certain fights really make the difference.
Who will be in your corner on the 26th of July out in Yas Island?
I will have John Crouch always, Randy Stanky, and Abel Ucelo.
And I guess another question is Mario Batista, teammate, I imagine, Kyler Phillips. Like I said, you guys are pretty stacked at bantamweight. How tricky does it get when you guys start having success towards the top? I point to Aljamain Sterling and Murad Davalos. Really, man, they handled it about as good as they could. They both have gotten to wear straps, and they're still homies. But then we've seen in the history of MMA, it doesn't always work out. How does that get talked about?
We've always spoken about it, and obviously none of us are going to fight for anything less than a belt and a lot of money. But other than that, yeah, I mean, I don't see an issue with it. Like we train together, we love each other, we care about each other. You're telling us that we can't go build generational wealth with each other. I mean, I would love nothing more than to get rich with my brother. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I'd rather not fight my teammates ever. Right? I'd rather that not be a part of our story ever,
Right.
But because that's just not what we want to do. But at the end of the day, we are all chasing the same thing. So if one of them so ever was to be like, hey, yes, I think we should both fight. We should do this because it's for a belt. I want the belt. You got the belt. Or I want the belt. You got the belt. I would not take it as like bad blood. You know, I know some people might see it that way, but we've built each other up for these moments, you know? And I want to see them do just as well as I want to do. I want to see them get to the belt as well. I want to see their families be able to thrive and generations be changed for them, you know? I want that for them as well. So I completely understand that type of mentality.
All right, back to Goes. He's got another one. Go ahead, Goes.
Marcus, have you given any thought to when the fight is done and they give you the mic, what your message would be?
Jesus is Lord. Jesus is King. That's it. That's it. That's my message. You know what I'm saying? And I hope that he gives me scripture to say at that moment as well, and that I can just profess everything that he's done for me in my life. That's it. That's all.
What are you going to ask Jesus to be waiting for you when you get home, that first meal? What's that
Oh
going to be?
man. As far as the food, he always provides. You know, we have too many good things around, so I don't gotta ask. You
Yeah.
know, there'll be too much around after the fight. So,
But what's your go-to? What are you hoping is waiting for you?
when I get home, I'm pretty simple. Pizza, burger, and fries in that order. You know, so as
Right.
long as I get the pizza, if I like give me a couple slices of pizza, give me a burger and some fries, we're good.
What toppings?
For the pizza, honestly, I'm a big all meats. So like sausage, pepperoni. Sometimes they'll have like ground beef on there, Italian sausage. I like that for my pizza. And then for burgers, usually like I'll like get like a maybe like a garlic aioli spread with like all the works, you know, lettuce, onions, pickles, tomatoes, and then maybe throw on like a fried egg, you know, medium or over easy fried egg.
There you go.
That sounds pretty good. And season up some good French fries. Any French fries, doesn't matter what type they are.
But if somebody were to say, "Oh, okay, we can do that," but I was going to take you to a steakhouse to get a nice ribeye and some Lanny's potatoes and some cream corn, and you turning that down?
So I'm not turning it down respectfully, but I'm gonna be looking for the burger on the menu.
Gotcha.
Hey, all right, I'm kind of like that too. But I was just curious if your arm could be twisted a little.
Yeah. I'll take a look at the sirloins. I'll look at them, you know, and see what they're looking like. But I'm probably gonna choose one of the burgers.
All right. Well, look, we don't want your phone to melt. What's it out there? Like 120, 118?
Yeah, right now it's 107. I've honestly got the AC going now, and I put my little shade up just to make sure we were good this time. I just didn't think it was gonna. It didn't. My phone didn't feel hot at all, so I was like, what's going on here?
Isn't that crazy that you're going to go to Dubai to cool off?
Yeah, it's crazy. At least we'll be used to it, though. You know, we'll be. And honestly, it's so funny. So I've been to Dubai one time for Kyler.
Mhm.
When I was 1-0 as a pro, Kyler got the call for Yas Island, and I went with him during COVID, during quarantine. So this won't be my first. This won't be my first rodeo.
Is that when everyone stayed in their own room and you couldn't leave because they had hall monitors and all that?
Yep, all that good stuff. Yep.
Damn. I mean, not to make light of it, but honestly sounds like a school shooting, right? Where you can't even move until you're told, right? Like to exit or
That's what it was. We had the quarantine for. We got there, had the quarantine for a day, for 24 hours. Once everybody passed their first COVID test, we got to be out and like roam around. Then every other day, we had to get COVID tests basically to make sure we didn't have COVID. Every other day, and we were able to just roam around. They actually had like the beach that was available to us, and we could ride bikes for like there's like a good mile radius that we actually could hang out in that no one else was able to get to. So that was kind of cool. It was a cool experience.
was it the OG trip where everyone went to Vegas and then you all went on the same chartered flight?
Yep, that was the one.
Oh,
I
wow.
think Jared Gordon either had symptoms, scared the daylights out of Dana White because everyone was together and, you know, you're in a steel bird for 12 hours. So I imagine it could spread there too.
Yeah, 100%. You know, especially
That's
because we
crazy.
didn't really know. We didn't really know at the time what the possibilities were. Who would have thought the world would have shut down like it did? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
pretty crazy, pretty crazy. But yeah, I've been there, so I'm pretty excited for it to come full circle and to be me having to perform on enemy territory, basically.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for the time today. Congrats on the fight against Petr Yan, and I hope you have a great camp leading up to it and a great fight. Because, like I said, I think he carries a lot of weight. Who knows? You might steal everything he's earned so far, and in my opinion, it's a title shot. So maybe we're talking to you late July, early August about where you're penciled in maybe for a title shot.
Yeah, let's go. Why not us? So I appreciate you guys.
Okay, have a good one, Marcus.